something like that, okay? All right, so, handling situations. Greg asked me to do this, talk a little bit about this today, and think about, there's lots of different ways to look at things when we talk about handling situations. And I kind of said the offhand comment that because you kicked a call, or you think you kicked a call, or you think you missed something, there used to be a theory that, oh, the coach got to chew on you a little bit longer because you made a mistake. And I said in the meeting on Saturday, no, he doesn't. No, there's no rule book I have ever seen where it says, coach is not allowed the field to argue with you unless you know you missed one. And then he's allowed to come in and berate you and say bad things to you and do all those sorts of things, and you're supposed to take it. I don't believe any of that, okay? I don't believe any of that. This morning and I have a class I teach at Hampton Sydney, and one of the students in my class played baseball at Cosby, and I know him from there and from American Legion ball. And I looked at him, and the first day I was like, I can't, and then I placed him. So we talked a little bit today about, I said, we were talking about rules of the game in my class and how incentives matter for people, and I said, hey, everybody knows I'm a butthole, right? And he goes, yes. And I go, okay, that's cool, we can get done with that. And then I said, now when I came and umpired a game, was there a lot of misbehaving? He said, no, there wasn't a lot of misbehaving. And I said, why? He goes, well, because we knew the rules of engagement, right? Not my words, not his, but we knew how it was going to be. I said, well, was there a lot of misbehaving when other people were at your games? He said, yeah. I said, why? He goes, well, because we knew we could get away with it. So they're only going to behave like you allow them to behave, right? If you allow them to act a fool, guess what they're going to do? Act a fool. That doesn't mean you have to be old school red bleep, right? That means you have to be old school chapped all the time and hollering and MFing and screaming and hollering. As much as Day would like that, we don't have to do that anymore. And in fact, we can't, right? And we shouldn't. So there's a bunch of ways to think about how to handle these things. And the most important, I've learned from so many different people about how to handle situations, so many good things. In fact, Day speaks over here. His dad said something once to me that I don't even think he knew he said it, because David will tell you his dad can talk. He makes me look like a church mouse. Okay, sometimes it's hard for me to get a wedge and a hammer and talk when he's around. But I love David. He's one of my favorite guys. He once said, just jammering along about something, he goes, look, no question asked, no response needed. So, oh, that's an interesting thought. If a guy comes out on the field, he wants to argue with me, and he's just talking, why do I want to talk? Right? Why do I want to talk? If he's just coming out there barking at me, and you'll see Kyle, I think, does a great job in this video of that, just stand there. Because every time you open your mouth, it's like a bellows to a fire. That guy's hot. He's got coals, right? He's a hot coal. If you got hot coals and you're leaving them alone, after a while, they'll just fizzle out, won't they? But if you take a big old bellows and you put some air in them, what happens? They flare right up again. They're going to catch anything that's near them on fire, aren't they? Every time you open your mouth, and trust me, Greg will tell you this too. Trust me, this lesson was hard and long and hard for me to learn, right? And once you learn it, it's, well, wow, it's pretty cool. It actually works pretty well. Is if somebody comes onto the field and wants to holler at you, let him holler at you. Unless he asks you a legitimate question, and again, I think you'll see Kyle do a great job here, even his body language. Unless he wants to ask you a legitimate question, stand still, let him go. Stand still, let him bark at you. He'll run out of gas, right? He will run out of gas. Scott Graham used to say there's a 30-second rule. Guy can talk for about 30 seconds, then he's done. I said, that's because you ain't met me yet. But anyway, right? He can talk for about 30 seconds, and then he's going to run out of gas. Because when he comes out, he's hot, isn't he? If they come out and they're arguing with you, they're hot. They're yelling, they're screaming. Just let them go, right? Let them go. Let's talk about how do we keep them out of there before we talk about how to handle when they get there, okay? So how can we keep them out of there? What's the thing that people gripe the most about in a baseball game?
Balls and strikes.
Balls and strikes, right? Balls and strikes, the easiest one to talk about. Balls and strikes. I got the dad on the phone theory for balls and strikes. Okay, that's my dad on the phone theory for balls and strikes. How many of you have been in a game and you hear something about balls and strikes like in the first inning, and you ignore it? And then it comes again in the second inning, and you ignore it. Then it comes again in the third inning, and you ignore it. Then it comes again in the third inning, and you ignore it. Then it comes again in the third inning, you ignore it. Then it comes in the fourth inning, and you ignore it. And about the sixth or seventh time, what happens? You're like going like this, and Jim, you're starting to think you had a bad day, right? 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 And after a while, it starts to build in you. You feel tense, right? The tension builds. And now when you turn to talk to that guy, it's going to be like a pressure cooker, right? You walk by, hit the top of the pressure cooker, bam, right? You got broccoli soup everywhere, right? Not a good idea, is it? It's similar to, for all of you guys that have had kids, and for you, we got a couple of youngsters back here that I hope they don't have kids yet. Because we got at least two that don't even shave yet. So I'm pretty sure they ain't got kids. Okay? But you ever been on the phone talking and the little kid comes over and goes, "Dad," right? You ignore him. The kid comes back, "Dad," a little bit louder, isn't it? You ignore him. The kid comes back again, "Dad," bam! Whoa, shit, oh man, I'm so, right now you gotta hang up. What if the kid came over and you just said, he goes, "Dad," and you go, "Hey, can you see I'm on the phone right now? How about you come back in a minute?" The next time he's gonna come back, he's not gonna raise his voice, is he? He might come back, but he's not gonna raise his voice, is he? Because you've already responded to him. Why did they yell out of the dugout at you? They wanted you to hear. They wanted you to hear them. They'll lie when you call them on it. I wasn't talking to you. This is where I really got to bite a hole in my lip because this one still is hard for me. It's like, "You freaking liar." And I just go like that. Okay. So the first time you hear somebody chirp about balls and strikes, why not just take a small glance over toward the dugout? And Luke, since he's the guy doing the barking, you know what Luke's going to do? I can look down this whole row. I'll know which one did it because he'll be the guy that puts his head down and goes like this. Okay, I know who the guy is. I know who it is, but I found him, right? And he knows I found him because that's what he wanted, right? I just got to look over there. All I'm telling you is, I heard you, right? You're in the middle of the infield. Are you going to make him stop? I go like this. I'm in the middle infield. Lowry yells out of the dugout, "You gonna make him stop?" I just go like this. "I heard you. I got it. I heard you." Go right back. I don't say it. I heard you. So all he wants to know is, did you hear me? Right? And if I'm in a really bad mood, don't do this. If I'm in a really goofy mood, he'll go, "Hey, he wants you to come set." Okay? And then they go, I go, "You told me to make him stop. You didn't say call a bar. I'm just doing what you want." Right? Don't do that. That's bad. Okay? Just say okay, and let him know that you heard him. Same thing, now when the guy says something to you again about balls and strikes, and you just look at him again, he knows you heard him. And it's likely not to come back. So let's suppose you look in there, and now I look, and Luke decides I found him, and instead of looking down, he goes, "Yeah, that's right, that pitch is out." You know, now what? Am I going to run him? No. How about if I go like this? "Oh, we're not going to talk about balls and strikes today." Just like that. "Hey, we're not going to call ball strikes." Notice this is defensive, right? I'm shucking off things like, "Whoa, don't know," right? This is aggressive. This is defensive. "Oh, hey, we're not going to talk about balls and strikes today." If he stops, we go back to work, fine. Maybe I'll let him have a word a little bit later, but it's likely to go, "I already told you we're not going to talk about balls and strikes today," if we've gotten there one time. If he wants to keep going after I go like this, because think about it, I've addressed him twice now, haven't I? Once when I looked in, once when I went like this. If he wants to keep going, I'm going to say, "Look, any more about balls and strikes, Luke, I'm going to give you a warning." Now I've talked to him 3 times, right? I've addressed him 3 times. At this point, Luke's probably not going to say anything else, but there are guys who'll say, "Go ahead." "Okay, that's what you like? All right, okay, I'll give you a warning." Now you have a balls and strikes warning. BSW, inning 3, 2 outs. Boom, go back to work. He says something again. I already told you once, you gotta go. You know how many times you have to run a guy after you've been through all that? Almost never. You're never gonna get upset with each other. You're never gonna get angry with each other because you've kept a lid on the pot. You've kept a lid on the pot. You let the pressure cooker, it popped off. You left the lid on the pot. But if you don't address that, it's just gonna get louder. Other thing is, think about this. Greg knows exactly what my ejection report is going to look like because I just read it to you. I just read you my ejection report. He asked me about a pitch in the 3rd inning. I looked at him. He said something else. I told him we weren't going to talk about balls and strikes today. He said, yes, I am. And I said, okay, you keep talking, I'm going to have to give you a warning. He said, I don't care, give me a warning. I gave him official warning. Next inning, he said, that pitch is out. I told him, I already told you. I don't care. Okay, bam. Now I write that report down, right? What would that look like to your AD if you got that many warnings and you got dumped? And he's got no right. You go to the AD, Warren, would that have worked real well when you were a coach and he came? Did he really tell you 5 times to be quiet and you didn't? It's not going to go well. I already wrote my ejection report. I know what my ejection report is going to say because it's a script. It's a script to me. I practice that script a lot. And you guys that have heard me give this talk before have heard me say exactly those same things. Practice the script. Practice the script. Now a guy comes out. Now let's suppose you just have that play on the bases and the dude comes out. So we'll change it a little bit. Now he comes out and he's like, bam, 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 and you just stand there. We'll watch Kyle do this in a second. You just stand there like this. Just stand and listen. Look at him and listen. Look at him and listen. Just listen. When he's done talking, stop. Just stand there for a second. If he goes away, awesome. Right? This was the hardest thing for me to learn because what I want to do is now bark at him. There's no reason to bark at him because what do you want? You want him to go away. You want the game to continue. So just stand there and look at him. Stand there. When he's done, if he doesn't go away and he starts the second round, you just say, hey, Dave, we've been around this already once. We need to get back to playing baseball. One time, right? I've given him one. Now he says, we're not going to, well, hey, I don't want to eject you over this. I don't want to run you over this. Something like that. Look, I don't want to run you over this. Can we please get going back to the dugout? There's 2, right? I might put in an intermediate, look, is this something you really want to get run over? Probably not a good idea because it can be seen as sarcastic, right? Baiting. So just say, I don't want to run you over this, right? You don't want to get ejected. Says something again, said, look, if you don't go now, I'm going to have to give you a warning. I'm going to have to go, we're going to have to escalate it. Don't say that, I'm going to give you a warning. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Now here's your official warning. If you don't leave now, I will eject you. Stand him and face him. Stand him and face him. Do not walk away from him. And I'm going to tell you why my theory is you do not walk away from people you're mad at. One is, look at what happened to Teddy Valentine last week. Right? Teddy's he's one of the 3 best basketball officials in the NCAA in terms of percentage calls he gets right. Ones he passes on and one he gets right. And people don't like Teddy. Why? Because he got a little flair. He's still a little bit old school. But he turned his back on a player in the middle of a game, D1 game, big TV game. Turned his back on a player. Because the kid was coming at him, instead of Teddy listening to him, he just went like this. What does that look like? It's pretty demeaning, isn't it? It's pretty demeaning, it's disrespectful. Have you ever walked away from your wife or your significant other in a fight, argument? Is she really like that very much? Does she let you go without yelling at you like, where the heck are you going, and barking at you? So stand there, and if he doesn't go, right, if he doesn't go, said, okay, you're done. Think about how calm you're going to be now when you run the guy. Because you've already said, look, I've heard you, we need to get going back, because I'm not arguing with him. I've heard you, I understand, we need to play. I'm telling you, if you don't go, I might have to eject you. Now I'm warning you, if you don't leave, I'll eject you. Okay, boom, you're done. And now I'm just going to stand there. Now I'm just going to stand there, and I'm going to let him do whatever he's going to do, because at this point, right, whoever I'm working with is going to know, all right, we got to come take this guy out of here. I'm going to stand there while that's going on. I'm not going to move. Anybody ever had the distinct pleasure of playing rodeo clown? It's easier to play rodeo clown when the cowboy's laying on the ground and not moving, or when the cowboy's running around in the ring?
Laying down, not moving.
Laying down, not moving, right? Because if the cowboy walks over here, guess what the bull's going to do? Follow him. The rodeo clown can't see the cowboy. So now the rodeo clown's like this, right? And you're not supposed to touch him. So you're like, oh, and one time I saw an ejection happen at the 45-foot line on the third base line. I saw 3 umpires chase the coach out to short left field. We were an organ grinder short of a circus. Organ grinder and a monkey short of a circus. And when I got done, I talked to the guys after it, and I said, this looks like a circus out here. I mean, we looked like we were in a circus. Rodeo clown, you calling me a rodeo clown? What do you mean I'm a rodeo? You calling me a clown? I go, no, rodeo clown's a term that means it's the dude that gets the bull away from the cowboy. If you stand still, the guy who's your partner is going to find a much easier job of getting the guy, because if I just stand there like this and look at the guy, by the way, while you're standing there, you could probably get out, if you're the plate guy, get out your paper, start writing down what's going on while he's looking in your face, and you just writing down like this, just write down all the stuff you need to know. The other guy can get rid of him. You're the other guy got to get rid of him. How do you get rid of him? Come on, Ray, we got to go. Come on, Ray, we got to go. I'm mad at him. I'll tell you what, Ray, you can yell at me all the way to the dugout as long as you keep going to the dugout. No, you got to be finished with him, because you're going to get suspended or something. That's okay, but if you don't keep going, we're going to be worse for you. So come on, yell at me. Yell at me. Come on, you can yell at me all the way to the dugout.
You made the wrong call. What did you say? What did you say?
It's not relevant. Come on, we need to go. We need to go.
Can't you even help it?
Not at this point. You're beyond help. No, don't say that. What you want to do is remind the guy that he's got to get going. Hey, look, come with me. You can yell at me all you want. You can yell at me from now till we get to the dugout, right? Because you're already dead. Like you said, you already been ejected. Yell at me all the way to the dugout, but we got to go, right? We got to go. Okay? So when you're the rodeo clown, the other one, last little bit of advice I have before we watch Kyle sing as a rodeo clown, is when you're the second guy in, don't add negative energy to a situation. Do not add negative energy to a situation. In this same mess that we had, that I just talked about, I was at first base. We had a 4-man crew. I was at first base. The ejection happened on the foul line. The plate guy really wasn't he was kind of hanging back a little bit, and he started moving forward. The second base umpire sprinted from short right field all the way into the middle of it on a dead sprint. The guy who's in the argument now looks up, and here comes a crazed animal at him. Right? Think about it. Right now it's primal. Right now they're in an argument, it's primal. We lose our faculties when we start yelling, don't we? We just lose them. It's primal. So that guy just took a whole bunch of negative energy and jammed it into a little space. You know what happened? Big bellows. It went worse. Now the other umpire had to run up, and that's when they ended up out in left field, because the guy that ran him ran around like this, he went like this, and he went like this. Anybody remember Alan Arkin in In-Laws get serpentine? That's what it looked like, right? They serpentine right across the tarmac. It was a mess. Have a plan, think about your plan, have a script, use your script, right? Your ejection reports will write themselves. Don't take crap because they think you missed something. They're not entitled to that. You're not entitled to be a jerk. You're not entitled to yell at them. You're entitled to treat them with respect. Do they treat you with respect? Not always. Is it a double standard? Yes. Is it fair? Yes. You know why it's fair? Because you agreed to be there under those rules. That's why it's fair. If you didn't like it, don't show up under those rules. Go play a different game with a different set of rules. You agreed to those rules. Is it fair if I say, come on, man, you got to get your ass going? And he goes, oh, he cursed at me. Is that fair? Yeah, unfortunately it is. Right? Unfortunately it is. They can curse the heck out of you. You can't curse them. You can't even curse near them. Does it stink? Oh, yeah. A lot. But you can't curse them. Don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. And by the way, when you write an ejection report, and I think Greg will agree with this, if he calls you a no good blankety blank, like, and write the word out, don't write blankety blank, right? He said no bleeping way, write out the bleep, right? Just write it out. Write out everything he said, because that report has to go to his principal. And if you write in the report that Coach Jones yelled, "You're and horrible," 3 times, audible to the stands, you think he's in really good shape? Don't be afraid. If he cussed you, write down exactly what he said. So you better pay attention, and the way to help pay attention is to shut up while he's yelling at you. And just keep remembering, okay, that's once he said I was effing horrible, and then he said I was a no good, okay, I got that one down, and then he said, oh, okay, got that one down, and you just write them all down, right? And you're gonna look better for it at the end. Okay, so we're gonna let Kyle show you the circus that he was in.
Do you want to go over how to deal with assistants and players before we watch this?
You guys do that, Dave.
No?
No, not today, we'll do that some other time.
Okay. You want to play?
Yeah, unfortunately, Kyle's dealing with an assistant in a league that's a circus. So,
So it's a play at second base. I'm the base umpire. And the coach said I eject is the first base coach. We'll watch it first. Some of y'all might have to come closer. It's a close play at second. I still don't know if I got it right today.
I'm pretty sure I know whether you got it right.
Yeah, I probably didn't.
Made him look like a fool.
But yeah, you can pause.
He didn't take the base.
He didn't know.
He stood there calmly. You didn't see Kyle yelling at him. You didn't see Kyle say, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. I got it out. No, he just stood there. Because he'd already ejected him. Right? He'd already ejected him. So he just stood there really calmly and quiet. I mean, that was hard for Kyle in 2015. I promise you. You could see him.
13 ejections later.
You could see him twitching like this when it was going on. It's really hard. And this guy is probably saying things that aren't really flattering, probably to him and his mother. Okay? And
Won this one, but
okay, but
some of y'all heard that last week.
so he does a really good job right there on all of that. Fortunately, in college baseball and under the rules now, he would get suspended. If you were his partner, right? If you're his partner, and you see this going on right now, and you see that happen, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Oh boy, he's coming, there might be some trouble. So, if you're his partner, what do you think you want to do? You probably want to wander out here in the middle somewhere, right? Just start wandering right? Once he's engaged and once you see him dump, you probably want to start wandering out into the middle of the field, right? Don't run out there, just kind of wander out there. Move out there with some purpose. When that dude gets at second base, you should probably be standing with him. Going, look, dude, you don't want to do this. This is just going to be really bad for you. You keep doing this, it's going to be really, really bad for you. How about you and me go back to the dugout, and I'll tell you what, you can say anything you want to me and I won't write it down in the report. Come on. Anything you want. You can say whatever you want. Let's go. Come on. Yell at me all the way back. Because if you go back over there and yell at him, it is not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be pleasant. I've even done that before he ejects him. I'll get a guy and he'll say something, he'll be yelling at Kyle like a first base coach. And I'm at first base and I go, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. What? Dave, come here. What? Dude, you keep yelling at him, he'll dump you. I won't dump you. Right? I'm not going to dump you. You can yell at me all day. I won't dump you, I promise. Right? Come over here, talk to me, and I won't get rid of you. I can't trust him. And I do to run you, so why don't you just be quiet? It works, right? You have a manager, and now another coach wants to get involved. Yo, Dave, you don't need to get involved in there. Let Tim take care of it. Let Tim do his job. If you go down there, you're going to get run. If you stay here and talk to me, you won't get run. I promise you won't get run unless you say something stupid, but you ain't going to do that. I know you better than that. Don't be afraid to talk to him. Don't bark at him. If you've raised your voice, you've lost control. And if you've lost control, you're no better than they are. Greg and I were in a Donnybrook last year.
Yeah.
We were in a Donnybrook last year.
Great job, Greg.
Nobody lost. Nobody yelled at anybody. There was no yelling. There was no hollering. We had some craziness going on. Greg did exactly that. He came in, got the guy off. Next guy came in, almost had to run him, right? It was a circus. But nobody raised, they were the only ones yelling and screaming. Neither one of us had raised our voices.
In fact, you could read Greg's lip. You gotta go.
You gotta go.
You
gotta go.
How many times did you say that, Greg?
A lot. A lot. And so it was, the guy came right over and he got dumped almost immediately. The point of this is, notice, and you guys that have heard me say this before, and Kyle too, Kyle knows the script. Right? He stood there like he knew the script. He stood there and he listened. And he let him go. And the guy argued, okay, go ahead, run away. I don't care. Good. Go over there. You want to come back? You can argue with me again. Notice he still hasn't changed his demeanor. The guy's back for a second time. Now, this is on his partner. If he's back for a second time, this is on his partner. Okay? This is on his partner.
He should have never got back to you.
No.
So that's on his partner. But would you do anything different than you did in this?
Like I said, when he was at second base being a fool, I would have started walking towards his dugout, so he would come back to me, because my partner was hanging out.
He was getting baseball.
Yeah, probably.
He was getting baseball.
So I would come to the infield side, and then when he comes back to me, I'd be like, okay, come on. The most I said to him was okay, because he was trying to tell me, you know, me and my partner, we suck. We're never going to make it to professional baseball. But
How'd that work out?
yep,
Is this the home team or the visiting team?
they're the home team.
Was the crowd into it? That's probably why you animated a little bit?
Probably that's what they were known for. The head coach's father is the president of the team, or the owner. So
This wasn't the head coach. This was
no, that's the assistant. Right after this, the head coach came out. My partner put it back in play. First pitch. Head coach never coaches the bases. He went to the coach's box, turned at me, and went hands on knees set. And after a pitch, I was like, "We're really gonna do this today?" He said, "You're damn right we are." See ya. We stayed on the field for 45 minutes trying to get him off the field. The league's a joke. But
So the moral of the story is, don't let them yell at you. They're not entitled to yell at you. You cannot yell at them. You yell at them, you've lost control. Take care of your stuff early. Don't take care of it late. The other thing is take care of the stuff like, I was going to make a little bit of fun of Kyle, but he can't do anything about it. If you look down all the old school ODUA guys and know how many guys were out of the dugout, how many buckets were out of the dugout, how many people weren't where they belong. When you allow all of the players to be out of the dugout, and you allow the coaches to be out of the dugout, what you're telling the players and coaches right now is, yeah, there's some rules I'm just not going to enforce today. Why? I don't care if it looks like heck over there. That's okay. So now you've set up a position where you're going to allow them to do things they otherwise wouldn't. Run a tight ship, but don't be a tyrant. Don't lose control of yourself. And if you go through the steps that we just talked about, your ejection, the ejection I had with Greg was an immediate because the guy was losing his mind. But I don't even think it was a big one. I think I had said, look, Scott, you got to go, man. You can't do this. You're an assistant coach. Now, Scott, I'm warning you. If you don't go, I'm going to have to dump you. I don't care, dump me. All right, go. That's what I did. I just said, okay, go. Because I'm not mad right now. I'm just trying to get him going. And if your ejection is you're angry and you've lost control, you know, your ejection should be like, go away. You need to go. Go home. Okay, now don't do that, because that'll make a phone call for Greg, right? Rule number 1. Okay? Know your job, keep control, run a tidy ship, have a script so you can write the ejection report when you're done. And don't let it build to that, okay?
Tony,
Yes, sir.
when coaches read your body language too, and 2 things I would caution anybody not to do is 1, don't put your hands on your hips and don't cross your arms. Because those are 2 bad body language signals that sends a
I
wrong
would say,
message.
yeah, that's another thing I did. I had my hands on my hips there. Back pockets. If you had to do something with your hands, put them in your back pockets. Keep them away from the person you're talking to.
Okay.
For that. Behind you.
Go ahead, Les.
Got a question. If you warn a guy, can't you just, really to prevent from ejecting, because I know a lot of coaches have to go answer and could possibly mean their job or whatever. Could you put them in the dugout and say?
That's a great point, Jordan, and